So not long ago, I made a video where I watched every single Oscar film back to back. Yeah, I did that. Probably because I hate myself. Anyways, there was one film in particular that had a huge effect on me.
I cried so much today. This poor, sweet family of immigrants were trying to do the American dream and do their goddamn best.
I'm not Korean American or an immigrant, but this story left me in a puddle of tears and genuine heartbreak. It's just this amazing universal film about the American dream. As with most films I love, I researched the crap out of it. And the more I learned, the more I fell in love with it. There was a lot of care and consideration put into this film, especially from lead actor Yeun as Jacob, the family's patriarch. His performance in particular is a huge lesson in less is more acting.
There was actually this really profound moment when the barn burned down. I was just like, this is the scene where I just lose it. I'm gonna lose it because all my shit's burning. This is the scene. And the first 2 takes, you could see me force it so hard. I was like singing in between takes, trying to like conjure up emotion. And I think a younger me would have definitely just kept trying. But around like the 3rd take, I was like, oh, maybe I should just let go and see what happens. And I let go and I just went with it. And no tears came out, just I was just watching it. I just lived in the moment, and then all of a sudden I look over at Yeri, who's playing Monica, and she's just sobbing. And in that moment it hit me all at once of just like, oh yeah, she was the one holding all that emotional weight for the family, and Jacob couldn't even see it.
You might be wondering how a trip to the local bookstore has anything to do with Minari. Well, Yeun's character is actually inspired by a book of poetry he found by chance in a secondhand bookstore in Tulsa. GQ specifically broke down the scene where the poetry came into play in their article, Yeun's New Frontier. So I have the article up right here, and there are just so many good stories about Yeun's career and about shooting Minari, but maybe my favorite story is about when the Minari crew had to shoot B-roll. They had to grab B-roll of like cows and trees in the field, but then somebody noticed that Yeun was just sitting by himself smoking a cigarette, and he just looked so much like his character. The crew then decides to quietly start filming him, and then that shot actually winds up in the film. It was just this perfect moment of kismet, essentially. Later, the director, Isaac Chung, asked Steven, hey, what were you thinking about while we were secretly shooting you? And Yeun says, oh, well, I was praying. And he later elaborates that his prayer was inspired by a book of poetry that he found by chance in the local bookstore in the town that they were shooting in. The poem is called The Farm by Wendell Berry, and it is so spookily similar to the plot of Minari. I'll put the poem up on the screen right here so you can pause the video and read it, but essentially it's a poem about somebody working on a farm, and it's a grind, and the farm barely shows any work, but through working this farm, the author gets a spiritual connection to God. I really do think it was fate that this poem found this particular actor. I love the idea of poetry inspiring a performance. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Anya Taylor-Joy's technique, where she is inspired by songs, so she'll make playlists for her character. I think a lot of times actors forget that they are allowed to be inspired by poems or by songs or paintings, and I think it would behoove us to include all kinds of inspirations when we're building a character. Voiceover Ashley here. Remember that trip to Iliad Books earlier? Well, I actually found some books of poetry, and we are going to put Yeun's technique to the test. I pulled a scene where the temptation would very much be to make it into an Oscar scene, but instead we're gonna try not to force any emotion out and just read some poetry and be open to the script.
Do you have private insurance?
No.
Are you currently insured?
Yes.
May I look at your insurance card?
I'm not sure if you can use it.
No?
If you did, would my family get sent a bill?
Duplicate statement, that's correct.
Then I can't do that.
I can try and set you up for emergency Medicaid as an alternative.
How would that work exactly?
Well, first we need to see if you qualify. Eligibility requirements are based on income. Are you from New York State?
New York, no.
Where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
Steel country?
Cool.
Well, in that case, you don't qualify. I can only enroll people from New York State.
How much does it cost without insurance?
At 18 weeks, the out-of-pocket cost is $1,500.
Yeah, I can't do that. Hi, voiceover Ashley here. Guys, I cannot believe that this is take one. It came out so well, so subtle and soft and very much in that A24 style. The only preparation I really had was reading the screenplay, learning my lines, and then I had that day where I was at Iliad Books reading poetry. That was the only prep I had, and because of that, and because of me not trying to force anything, I think it came out so naturalistic. It really fucking worked. I actually didn't believe Hayden, my boyfriend slash reader, when he told me that we got it, so I proceeded to make him do 8 more takes with me, and upon watching them back, they're essentially the same performance and line reading. I don't know why I thought I had to retake this scene so many times. And actually, now that I'm saying this, that reminds me of this Minari interview where they talk about getting the shot on the first take and moving on because you know that you've got it.
You know, we had a couple of those scenes that were like single takes, and it wasn't necessarily because we had no time. It was also because Isaac's wise and bold enough to be like, we got it. And he didn't even overblock things. He just said, I think I want to put the camera right here. And then we would just find our natural spots and then just do the scene. And then Isaac was like, cool, we got it. And I was like, are you sure?
Wow, I fucking love that story so much. And you know, it hammers home the fact that you don't have to force anything. But I'd love to know what you all think. What do you think of Steven Yeun? What do you think of his acting technique? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you're a filmmaker in LA, you can hire me for your next project. LA casting, actors access, all of that good stuff is down in the description box below. Also, if you found this video helpful and would like to buy me a coffee, there's a link for that too. Overall, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!